Just after midnight, two police officers arrived at a museum in Boston, except they weren't police. Within minutes, the guards were handcuffed in the basement. For the next 81 minutes, the thieves had one of the world's greatest private art collections almost entirely to themselves. When they finally disappeared into the night, 13 objects were gone, including masterpieces by Rembrandt and Vermeer. More than 3 decades later, not one has been recovered. No one has ever been convicted. And somewhere, someone may still know where they are. It was 1:24 in the morning on Monday, March 18, 1990. Boston was winding down from a boisterous St. Patrick's Day weekend when a vehicle pulled up near the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. Two men dressed in Boston police uniforms walked to the museum's side employee entrance and pressed the buzzer. At the security desk sat Richard Abath, a 23-year-old night watchman. The men outside claimed they were officers responding to a disturbance in the courtyard. Breaking strict protocol, Abath opened the door and allowed them inside. Once past the threshold, the intruders quickly moved to overpower the guards. They ordered Abath and the second guard, Randy, to step away from the security desk. Both watchmen were handcuffed, wrapped in duct tape, and led down into the museum's basement, where they were secured to utility pipes in the darkness. With the guards neutralized, the thieves gained complete, uninterrupted control of the dark galleries. For 81 minutes, the museum's internal motion detectors recorded their quiet, methodical movements from room to room. In the history of art crime, this was an astonishing, highly unusual window of opportunity, giving the intruders nearly an hour and a half to execute their plan in absolute silence. The thieves walked away with 13 objects. Among them were Johannes Vermeer's The Concert, one of only 34 known paintings by the master, and Rembrandt van Rijn's Sole Seascape, Christ in the Storm on the Sea of Galilee, along with his portrait, A Lady and Gentleman in Black, and a small self-portrait etching. They also took Edouard Manet's Chez Tortoni, 5 drawings on paper by Edgar Degas, an ancient Chinese bronze beaker, and a gilded Napoleonic eagle finial. The selection immediately perplexed investigators. While the intruders cut masterpieces directly from their frames, they bypassed far more valuable paintings in the same rooms, choosing instead to carry away minor sketches and a bronze flagpole ornament. This raised a lingering question. Was the heist a highly specific black market commission, or did the thieves simply fail to understand what they were looking at? Officially, the FBI values the stolen works at more than $500 million, while contemporary art market estimates place their value closer to $1 billion. The pieces remain entirely gone. Isabella Stewart Gardner's 1903 will created an ironclad mandate. The museum's galleries must remain forever exactly as she arranged them, with no alterations or relocations. Because of this strict charter, curators could never replace the stolen works or fill the gaps. Instead, the original gilded frames still hang completely empty in their historic positions. These vacant spaces serve as a haunting, permanent presence in the galleries, turning absolute absence into a living void and reminding every visitor that the crime remains unresolved. The thieves took the paintings, but they also left behind something that would become almost as famous: unanswered questions. The empty frames prompted what quickly became one of the largest art crime investigations in history. Over the decades, the Federal Bureau of Investigation has processed thousands of leads, coordinated undercover operations across multiple states, and relied on a vast network of informants. Agents tracked rumors of the missing masterpieces through international auction houses, organized crime syndicates, and hidden storage vaults. Yet despite decades of high-stakes federal effort, the 13 objects remained entirely out of reach. In 2013, the FBI's Boston division made a public announcement that briefly electrified the art world. Investigators stated they had high confidence that they had identified the individuals who carried out the theft. They believed these perpetrators belonged to a criminal organization based in the Mid-Atlantic and New England. The announcement yielded no arrests. The suspected thieves were already deceased, and the lead generated no recoveries. No one has ever been charged or convicted in connection with the heist, and the federal case remains open. This enduring mystery exposes the cold economics of high-end art theft. Masterpieces of this scale are virtually impossible to sell on the open market. Legitimate dealers and auction houses recognize them instantly. Instead of being sold for cash, stolen art of this caliber often circulates secretly within criminal networks. It becomes a form of underground currency, used as collateral for illicit loans or held as leverage to negotiate reduced prison sentences in unrelated cases. The Gardner paintings became assets locked away in secret stashes where their value is measured not in dollars, but in criminal influence. Federal investigators have long focused their attention on the organized crime networks of New England and the Mid-Atlantic. In this line of inquiry, the thieves were local criminals operating as the muscle for syndicates capable of concealing high-value contraband rather than art experts. This perspective gained new momentum with the 2026 release of 13 Perfect Fugitives, a book by retired FBI Special Agent Jeffrey Kelly, who led the Gardner investigation for over 2 decades. Kelly's findings suggest the stolen masterpieces were transported from Boston to Connecticut and eventually to Philadelphia, hidden inside a commercial delivery truck. In public interviews, Kelly has detailed specific suspects and the suspected path of the art. However, these assertions remain investigative theories, not criminal convictions, and no one has ever been charged. Compounding the challenge, several key figures linked to these mob theories died before the case could be resolved. It raises a haunting possibility. Is it possible that investigators fully understand how the robbery unfolded, but still have no idea what happened to the artwork afterward? Official police and federal records confirm several stark realities from the crime scene. The thieves sliced the canvases of the Rembrandt straight from their stretchers, leaving behind ragged edges of fibers. They also took the security videotapes from the guard desk, erasing any immediate record of their appearance. Among the stolen inventory, the museum offers a separate $100,000 reward specifically for the missing gilded Napoleonic eagle finial, treated as a distinct target. Outside of these documented facts, the trail blurs into unverified reports. Investigator accounts and informant tips suggest some of the 13 objects may have changed hands within underground networks, moving through Connecticut and Philadelphia. But these post-heist movements remain unproven theories, separating verified physical evidence from decades of street-level rumors. The 13 missing objects may have been scattered decades ago, pursuing entirely separate fates. Some might rest undisturbed in private residences, while others could have moved through criminal organizations to be used as underground collateral. They may have been smuggled overseas or passed down to unsuspecting heirs who do not recognize what they hold. There is also the grim chance they were damaged or lost once the original thieves no longer controlled them. Yet history shows that stolen art frequently reappears after decades in the dark. Missing masterpieces often resurface when criminal networks dissolve, estates are settled, or an heir simply recognizes an object. So long as the canvases exist, the Gardner works could still return. Today, the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Gardner Museum maintain that this search remains fully active. To incentivize recovery, the museum offers a $10 million reward for information that leads directly to the safe return of the 13 works in good condition. For the missing gilded Napoleonic eagle finial, a separate $100,000 reward stands on its own. More than 36 years after the thieves walked out into the Boston night, investigators refused to classify this case as a cold historical crime. The search continues, driven by the enduring hope that these lost masterpieces will one day hang in their frames again. Today, those empty frames still wait on the gallery walls. $1 billion in masterpieces remains lost, but perhaps not destroyed. If they resurface, where should investigators look first? Subscribe for more unsolved cases.